Welcome to a new episode of M2M coverage. The NBA season is starting on December 22nd. That's Tuesday, and we are ready to make some predictions about the upcoming year. Edward, Gian, Gabe Pickup, as always. This is our NBA crew, and we're here to get ready for this new NBA season that is not inside a bubble anymore. Let's start off with MVP. We want to predict MVP. Edward, I'll give you the floor for who you think your upcoming MVP is.
Yeah. So for my pick, I think it's gonna be Luka Doncic. I think he's gonna step up a big game. Especially when he almost carried against the Clippers, but without his dynamic duo Kristaps Porzingis, I think like if the Mavs was full strength, I think the Clippers could have knocked out at the first round of last season. But I want to see that Luka magic this season.
Yeah, and he is the odds-on favorite, I'm pretty sure, to win the MVP over all the other candidates, over Giannis, over LeBron, AD, and all of those, KD as well. And your point about the Mavs is very valid. We all had that feeling that if Kristaps Porzingis plays that game, the whole series gets turned around and the Mavs pull off the upset. Gabe, do you have a disagreement on MVP?
No, I do not actually, because I agree with Edward. I think it's going to be Luka. I'm not going to argue whether he deserves it or not because that's for the season to play out. But as for the MVP award itself, I feel like it's really storyline driven and almost like everyone has their own path to it. It almost seems like the media literally does decide it, but it seems like the media creates narratives for it. And I think with Luka, he just had a killer second year. He's, one of the biggest promotional players in the NBA. I really think that the NBA itself is going to try to give Luka the award. And I really think that he can, as long as he does what he did last year and the Mavs just have, a top 4 record, top 3 record in the West. I think he'll get it done.
Yeah, good points all around. I'm rooting for Luka to win MVP as well. I want to see a third-year player like him, or just demolish the league and more magic from him. But I will say, I think I want to give my MVP to Steph Curry this year. I think if the Warriors are a winning team in competition for the Western Conference at the end of the season, which is very possible given the coaching that they do have some talent, even though they lost Clay. I think Steph is going to carry that team, show everybody why he's one of the greatest shooters of all time. And so that's why I got to give it to Steph. Okay, let's move on. Rookie of the year. Edward, you want to go first?
Sure. So I think the obvious one might be LaMelo. I think he's a good one. But I'm actually going for Isaac Okoro from the Cleveland Cavaliers. He very impressed me in the preseason. It's an early pick, but like if he gets consistent minutes and like especially the one game where he made a game-winning layup by N1, I think he's going to get a good minute because he's a good defensive player, and that's why like he was drafted pretty highly. And then and people say, oh, his shooting is not good, but actually he's been shooting really well, and his form is not bad. So like if he keeps getting reps, I think he's going to be at that 3-and-D, and it's a good pickup from the Cavs.
Yeah, I like that you picked someone on a team that's not mainstream like right now, like the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm personally going LaMelo. I'll be quick. LaMelo is going to be one of the 2 leaders of this team, him and Devontae Graham on the Charlotte Hornets. And I think he does have a great season. I think he starts off better than Lonzo did in LA. Gabe, who is your rookie of the year?
Yeah, I got to agree with you there. I think it's LaMelo because he's starting on a Hornets team that doesn't really have a facilitator, at least a dependable one, and he could really be that guy. When you look across the league at the other high-pick rookies, Obi Toppin isn't even starting right now. If he was starting, I think I might lean him over LaMelo, to be honest, but I just think that Tibbs isn't going to really give him the chance he needs this year at least. And then you look at the other top picks, Anthony Edwards, James Wiseman, Denny Avdija. They're more projects. Patrick Williams is a project. Everyone else, even Okoro, is a project. And LaMelo, I really think it's his team already, whether he's the best player on it or not. I think he's going to be the guy, the facilitator, the scorer, even the passer, and the rebounder. He's going to be the rookie of the year, I think.
For sure, for sure. Okay, let's move on to coach of the year. Edward, who you got?
Yeah, so my coach of the year, I think, is Monty Williams from the Phoenix Suns. He's been grinding that Suns team that was the only undefeated team in the bubble. I mean, that's crazy. And they couldn't make it because the Brooklyn Nets couldn't beat the Portland Trailblazer. Like, that would have been the headline of the story of like how Phoenix Sun became this like so low tier, became that so close. And they got Chris Paul. I mean, that's a fine, good point guard. I mean, that's what Devin Booker needed. He needed that another guy who could depend it on Chris Paul. And we write off the OKC last season, but him like just carrying that team to the playoff, which nobody expected. And Chris Paul in the Phoenix Suns, look out for the Phoenix guys. So Monty Williams.
Yeah, you read my mind. The Suns are an up-and-coming team that with the acquisition of Chris Paul, they made big headlines during the offseason. Gabe, who is your coach of the year?
My coach of the year, I think it's Brad Stevens, because the Celtics are a team that have been consistently great, but not incredible enough to be contenders to win it all. But I think that this year it's going to be different. I think this year they're going to get the 1 seed. They'll win not 60 because it's a 72-game season. Maybe they could win 60 plus, but I think it's going to be like 58 games and 58 and 14-ish. I just really think that Tatum and Brown are going to get that step up that they need for them to be contenders. And I think that that is partially due to Brad Stevens being a phenomenal coach. It was only a couple of seasons ago that he was considered maybe the best coach in the league. And I think that this year he's going to prove why he still deserves to fight for that title. So I got Brad Stevens coach of the year.
Yeah, and he kind of leveled off, I guess, in terms of how far the Celtics reached in the Eastern Conference, because they've consistently been in like the conference finals, conference semifinals range. So I guess if you want Brad Stevens to be coach of the year, you need that 1 seed and you need to show improvement from last year. So are you saying they could go to the finals?
I'm saying that they are contenders to win it all this year.
Okay. That's a pretty hot take considering that Brooklyn and Milwaukee are still in the East. I'm going to go to the West and say my coach of the year, other than Monty Williams, is Steven Silas, because I think the Houston Rockets are still not done for just because Mike D'Antoni and Russell Westbrook left. I think John Wall was a great addition. I think Steven Silas has proved that he's a great assistant coach in this league for like 20 years, and I think he can get things working in Houston. Okay, and lastly, we will go to most improved player for the 2020-2021 NBA season. Edward, who is your most improved player?
Yeah, so my most improved player, I think it might be Michael Porter Jr. The Denver Nugget, I thought they're going to be another great team, but losing Jeremy Grant is a huge loss for them, I think, because he's that 3-and-D, and he showed that he was a good player. And unfortunately, he went to the Detroit Pistons, which I don't know what they're doing. But MPJ, I saw him playing in the bubble and surprised a lot of people, like how, everyone questioned about his injury system. So I think he might start this season. I don't know for sure how he's going to, what the starting lineup will be for Denver Nuggets. But I think he might be the most improved player because, he's going to get more minutes. He's probably going to replace, Jeremy Grant. So let's see about it.
I really, really like that most improved player from you, because Michael Porter Jr. was one of our favorite people to watch during the seeding games. He was scoring 30, 40 points on the Nuggets, and he was carrying that team in some of the games. And then he kind of leveled off in the playoffs a little bit, but he still has that huge wingspan, that length, and he can shoot the three. So if Jokic and Murray need a third person, I think it's going to be Michael Porter Jr. Gabe, who is your most improved player?
My most improved player, besides my bias, is RJ Barrett, because the Knicks, they're one of the worst teams in the league, which gives RJ Barrett more room to, facilitate in the offense and score. Thibodeau said in a quote recently that the Knicks don't have a guy like Jimmy Butler or a guy like Paul George. They don't have like a superstar. And he might be right about that. but RJ Barrett is the closest thing they have to an all-star. And I think that this year, Thibodeau and the Knicks coaching staff is going to realize that, and they're going to run the offense through RJ Barrett. No more painful Elfrid Payton years, and it's going to go well for RJ Barrett. I think he's going to be most improved, not necessarily because he'll be a lot better than last year, although I think he will be, but I think it's because of his usage rate. I think his usage rate is really going to rise this year.
Yeah, I'd like that pick for most improved player as well. Even though you're a little bit biased because you're a Knicks fan. And I'm gonna round off the most improved player with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I think he's, like Gabe mentioned to me earlier, he's the only player on the Oklahoma City Thunder that can play basketball right now. And I think, the emergence of Lou Dort kind of helps him a little bit, but also, as Chris Paul left, this is Shai's team, and I think he can lead the team to at least being respectable. We saw the Thunder be more than respectable last year, exceeding expectations. I think Shai can really shoulder the load and show that he can take the load of a team like the Oklahoma City Thunder. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to our channel, M2M Coverage, for more sports content.